Yeah. Yeah. Shit. Grams leaders CC's pounds. Close cash, close call, close encounter, close up, pounds of liters of grams, get your dosed up, cut this up and post up, and get dosed up. This for them voted like the move and make the most of. Monday night at 8, I can't wait to set you straight. These opinions and debates, for them folk they can't relate. I got to elevate your mind through these signs of the time. Dishing out that medication for that deaf, dumb and blind. And I ain't hard to find, you can catch me in those trenches. I do the groundwork and I ain't waiting on no sense. I be touching on them topics politicians fail to mention. And I don't vote for nobody that ain't got good intentions. I'm relentless for my people and I'm here to make a change. I got that truth serum hooked directly to your veins. Hey, this is for my people, tune in, catch a close up, close up, close up, a close up, grams of it, tune liters of it, close up, pounds of it. Pounds of it, yeah, grams of it, liters up, pounds, get your dosed up, dosed up, dosed up, get dosed up.
Yeah. Here we are, good people.
That's
my
right.
people.
That's
it's
right.
Monday. It's 8. I'm Shooter. Dose. We got Lab in the background.
That's right. Always, forever. You know
We've
what
been
I'm
having some great conversations, y'all.
off air.
I got off air, but we're going to bring that thing to air.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your weekend, brother? How was everything?
Man, my weekend was okay. I worked, you know what I'm saying, but I caught up on a little bit of stuff that I needed to catch up and some organizing at work to make it a little bit easier for myself.
Okay.
And then, man, I just enjoyed the rest of my weekend getting this information for this podcast. Right
Okay.
Because it's going to get kind of deep. I got a lot of answers and resolutions, you know what I'm saying, that I had been wondering about with this next topic we about to jump into.
Okay. Any music making going on? Just
any
searching.
music
Just searching.
making.
Any joy? I know that's your.
I mean,
you love doing that.
You know, of course. I did do a little bit of jotting down on some verses, man, because I always want to try to stay sharp. You know, I listened to some of the things that I laid to see if I needed to change anything, tweak anything. So, yeah, you know, music gonna always be something I'm gonna do on a weekend.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. I just wanted to check and make sure you still, we always gotta have. We got to work hard, but we got to play hard too. So we got to make sure we have a even balance in life.
I'm glad you asked that, though, because I was about to hit up my producer and tell him not this Saturday, but next Saturday we in there for sure.
Okay. So he probably paying attention. He's probably listening.
Mm-hmm.
So what's on your mind today? I know we had some good conversation offline. It's probably gonna get a little sticky for some people online, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to give you that double dose.
This got to be talked about, man.
Right.
So the topic of the day is racism.
Mm-hmm.
And so in doing my deep dive in racism, it is global, it is westernized, and it pretty much goes hand in hand with slavery.
Okay.
Slavery in old school ways, slavery in new ways.
Okay.
Man. It's really disheartening, you know what I'm saying? What I saw, what I'm reading, what I know now.
Okay.
And we're gonna throw the government up under the bus a little bit with this.
Okay.
You have propaganda, you got stereotype, you got economy, you got the government, judicial system, public and private corporations, and sports team owners, kind of like the conglomerates. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna take a little bit a trip back into history and then tie it into the conglomerates of what I was just speaking about.
Okay, and I'll interject when
Gotcha.
I'm not going to interrupt. I'm going to interject when necessary.
Cool.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take kind of like the westernized aspect a little bit of it, and it kind of like starts dating back to 1600s and things like that. It never really looked good for us when certain people arrived. That's all I can say.
Right.
Stripped of our land and rights. But the thing is there weren't any rights anyway.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's pretty much man-made rights given to us once they got here and figured out what they wanted to do.
Okay.
But we'll start talking about, let's say, Civil War time, industrial slavery type time, and agriculture type time.
Okay.
All right. So with the agricultural, that's pretty much what we are most familiar with.
Right.
When you start talking about Black history or history in the U.S., we're going to go back to that period where we were pretty much, quote unquote, in bondage, and we had to work, you know what I'm saying, pretty much our whole lives.
What's good? I am Cooley Slim. What's good, brother? I appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You said agricultural. Do you know a lot of the agricultural things that we have here, like rice, certain things like that, it was brought over by Africans, and we taught white folks how to grow it and stuff of that nature. Okay.
And their whole and I'm gonna talk on that right now. The whole purpose of that, one, feed themselves, and to make money off of it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It wasn't anything as far as ours is kind of traditional and spiritual. That's more like, how can I say, exploiting us.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
For our skills and knowledge that you didn't know.
Right.
And then, you feeding us scraps after all of that.
Right.
But agricultural too, as well as just back-breaking type groundwork, you know what I'm saying? Physical digging and
every day.
Yeah.
Everyday labor like that. We know picking cotton. You know how brutal that was on a daily basis.
And the way that they went about keeping you a slave, though. See, it was strategic, strategies behind this. It wasn't just like, okay, we brought them over here, you know what I'm saying? Now we're going to work them. No, we got to keep them working. So in keeping them working, that's when you start developing connections, laws, plans, networks.
Okay.
Ways of, okay, so if one particular slave decide they wanted to leave and go up north, if they were captured, it's clauses and laws, which means you have to be sent right back, at your property pretty much, and start your cycle over again if you weren't killed in the process.
Okay.
We also know about the keeping the family on the property so you can breed other slaves. I found it blasphemous that the people writing the Declaration of Independence and Constitutions had slaves as well.
Most definitely.
So it's funny how you can say that it is or it was illegal, but you don't have a punishment in the laws and the amendments that you're saying it's illegal with. And you're writing it, and you're writing it's illegal, but you actually have slaves. So this is where I'm starting to see, like,
well, the people who wrote the Declaration of Independence didn't, as far as that, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, at one point we was 1/3 of a human.
Exactly.
But, they didn't really write that for us as slavery because they were slave owners, so they had no intention of us being free. For one, they couldn't see that far in the future. You know what I mean? They didn't have that foresight and fortitude to understand that may be something we might get free of, because for one, they thought we were stupid and lazy. That's why they kept us from reading, so we wouldn't understand that there's other things beyond this plantation. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Well, reading was one of the things that the Haitians were able to do, which why this revolt was successful. And good old America didn't like that, so that's why Haiti's poor now. And they kind of feared that we would learn, you know what I'm saying, how to read and write, which we did. And a la Nat Turner from that. But it's just mind-boggling how this lasted for so long. We're still feeling some of the trickle-down effects of it. When you get political, then it's like, who do you turn to? Because right now it's still racism going on. It's still pretty much economic slavery going on, and we still vote and go for the government. But now when you rewind back to, we'll just say, like the 60s, and we're voting, you have someone that was on our side, we'll say like a JFK, and you see what happened to them. And they're trying to fight for a constitution that, let's say, the forefathers wrote, and in it, like I say, is loopholes. Is loopholes basically to keep bondage, to keep us, I would say, kind of like separated economically.
Well, back in at one point when we got free during the Reconstruction time, Reconstruction, we were allowed to vote at one point. The problem was that when Lincoln got out of office and they saw that we were having issues with some of the people that were in office, and saw that we wasn't going to necessarily vote for the person that they nominated to be for president. I forget who it was, and then right offhand. That's when they started to send people to the ballot, to the election offices, to intimidate black folks not to vote because we wasn't going to vote the way that they thought that we should vote. So
yeah, and
that happened, and then you fast forward. Women was never allowed to vote. These were black men. I mean, we at some points back in the early 1800s, after during Reconstruction, we had black folks in the Senate and Congress and all that stuff, and those things got turned around because they say that we were corrupt and stealing things, but in all actuality, we know who the corrupt people were, who had the most power within those government agencies, within the Senate and the Congress back then. But that's one of the ways they got us out of office.
So here's the funny thing, because we used to be Republicans anyway.
Right, we did.
And now we Democrats. I find that funny because both parties fight against each other and don't shit get done. But to me, that looks like a guise and a dupe. Because if we used to be Republicans, and the reason why we were Republicans was because of Lincoln, who really wasn't for any type of ratification. Lincoln just simply wanted the U.S. to be
together,
united.
Right.
Yeah. So his stance was, if blacks are free, then we can be united. Great. If blacks are slaves, then we could be united. Great. If half the blacks are free, then we could be united, and half the blacks are enslaved. Great. So what that tells me is you really don't give a shit. You just want unification.
It was more of an economical thing. It has really nothing to do with. It had nothing really to do with freeing us. Now us freeing black folks now, or slaves. Let's put it that way. It's not had nothing really to do with freeing slaves, but we were lucky that I guess that the South didn't want to go with what he was trying to propose. So in a way to crush their economical growth, he freed us. He freed black folks because economically. You crush a company that's getting free labor, and you go ahead and free all the free labor. Let them be free. Let them. What the problem was when you freed us, then what?
Oh, and that's what I'm about to get to
what
right
happens
there.
then? Because
so, let me tell you now. The government was part of this too, right? So we free, right? But now all of a sudden you got black codes, you got pig laws, you got these phantom ass, funny ass laws where you get locked up for talking loud, right? You get locked up for having a lighter. You get locked up for looking at a white woman or something like that. You get locked up for crossing the street wrong, shit like that, right? So then once they take you in front of the judge who is white, the peers who's white, the lawyers who's white, the prosecution that's white, the juries and all, the juror that's white, okay, first of all, you're going to be illegal and convicted. That is a 100% fact back in the day. So what would happen if you tried to fight it and get a lawyer? They're going to convict you and find you on something else. Plus that, now you owe more money. But here's the thing. Once you're in that court and they deemed you that you're convicted and that you owe money to the state, that's when somebody decides to come in and pay your fine. Once they pay your fine, guess what you got to do? You got to work for that person. You gonna work for that person for free. And you gonna work for that person to pay your court fines off. And you gonna work for that person and pay their money that they paid off. And guess what they gonna do by the time you get ready to get free again? They gonna lock your ass up and you're gonna have to work for them again. So basically that's where the systematic slavery came from. Yeah, you free, but you can't read or write, so you ain't gonna be able to vote. Yeah, you free, but they redlining you. You consider poor. You're not gonna get a loan for a house. We're not gonna sell you a house. We're not gonna give you a job. You don't have a job, now you get arrested. Oh, and back in the day, if you got hired and didn't like your job and quit, you were illegal. If you got fired, you would have to have that white man speak on your behalf as to why you don't work for them anymore. Or guess what? Charged with a fine. Now you owe. Now you working for somebody again. But here's the kicker. Okay, so now this what shows you how fucked up the system was. Slavery, damn near. We ain't gonna say it was better, but check this out. They kept you alive as a slave and they fed you. once they freed you and locked your ass up, some people died within 3 months of working in the coal mine. They didn't feed them. They didn't beat them, but they didn't feed them. They didn't clothe them. They didn't do shit. You didn't even really get paid to work. You just worked yourself to death within 3 months, and you were considered to be free. So we got a bad deal on any end. You got a bad deal with slavery. You got a bad deal with freedom back then. So I can kind of understand why, when people say, well, we behind because we were slighted. Yeah, that's true now. You know what I'm saying? You have some options now, but some of them same things still exist. It's just under certain shit. It's under government assistance. You know what I'm saying? And you still have prison camps. You got jails and all of that other stuff. So
when we say get arrested, but once slaves were released, they freed rather. The one thing that they said was, if you get this in the Constitution, I forget what amendment it is, but it says you cannot be a slave unless convicted of a crime. You get what I'm saying? So that's when the prison system came along.
Yep, it started building
free
jails.
labor, free labor if you get convicted of the crime. So that was one way they kept. And so they started arresting black folks for little minor infractions that probably didn't warrant arrest in the first place. Maybe walking off the curb, maybe spitting on the sidewalks, things of that nature that they were doing back then in order to put us back in prison, in order to put us back in chains. So there was always ways. Because when the people in power, you know what I'm saying, just because we're free, they're still the same people who were in power when we were freed are still the same people who's running those. When we were slaves, are still the same people who's running those governments. It's not like they're going to change anything just because we're freed.
They just go, they do change things. They amend the laws to keep us where we at. You know what I'm saying? But so some of the things from back then, it's just interesting to see the continuation of the practices. But back to where like you didn't have a shot with the law and the judicial system. That's actually how police came into be. They didn't even really have that many police officers back then until they started freeing slaves, or slaves started escaping, and they wanted to kind of like round you up. All right, now hence you have police officers. Now you building more complexes, so you building jails, you building ways to store them if you don't send them straight back to them plantations.
I am Cooley Slim says, so when did the electoral college votes come into play? Because as far as the presidential vote, I feel don't matter because they are going to go with the electoral college. Well, the electoral college started September 6, 1787. The president and vice president would be elected to an electoral college. Each state will have a number of electors equivalent to its combined number of senators and representatives. Each state would thus have a minimum of 3 electors. The smaller states had 1 representative and 2 senators, and large states would have far more than 3. These electors would be chosen in such manner as each state's legislature may direct. Each elector would cast 2 votes each were for separate candidates, only one of whom could be from the elector's home state. So the electoral college has started a long time. See, a lot of people think that's just a recent thing. Electoral college started in 1787. The country pretty much got its independence like in they say 1776, but it was more like 1777, 1778, those things like that, because we still had things that we had to do to separate from British rule. So it was in 1787 that started. So that's not a new thing. Electoral colleges has been going on since the beginning of this country. So that's not a new thing. It's just more amplified now because we have more means of researching and finding out what it is and what it does. That's what it is.
So, like, this is just all I can say when it comes to, like, politics with this thing, man. I'm going to name a few names. And when I name the names, that ought to show you what happens if you're going to try to do this politically correct. JFK, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Khalid Muhammad, even Tupac. What they got in common?
They were more into that Pan-African, not Pan-African, but African nationalism, black nationalism, like Marcus Garvey, go back to Africa, have our own country so we can have our own laws and do our own things. Since you don't want us here, give us our own country, let us do our own things. Since you say that we're, we can't do this or do that, we're not smart enough. Well, give us our own country. Let us give us our own land, so we can have our own country, and let us see what happens. Let us leave us to our own devices, as they say.
Now, with that being said, that was a beautiful speech, and they all died by the gun saying that. So that lets me know what the powers that be really think of equality and justice for all.
Well, the thing is that as much as the people rail against black folks and well against and say, like when during slavery times, when they were saying they were having that narrative of that we were lazy, shuffling, and corrupt. But how can you be lazy when you're doing all the work? You know what I'm saying? How can you be lazy when you're the ones who's making these folks rich? Because if it wasn't for your free labor, how much money would they have made? You get what I'm saying? So those things, but just as much as they rail against us, they know they need us. It's not as easy as just getting rid of us, because they could have been done that. They could have done that a long time ago before we got here. I mean, it was a pushback when Lincoln was freeing slaves to send us back to Africa. During Reconstruction, it was such a hard time during Reconstruction for black folks getting any leverage. That at one point, senators and congressmen and even President Lincoln was like, well, maybe we need to start sending them back to Africa, from which they came, so they can, But that changed too. Some black folks like, we don't want to go back to Africa. We want to stay here. This is where we're from.
I was just finna say, because I'm like, how you gonna send somebody that was already here back anywhere? Because a lot of us was here before they got here.
I mean, you think about how long ago that we got here. I mean, they talking about sending us back to Africa in 1865, 1887, things of that nature. When we came here in 1600s. I mean, that's 200 and some years.
Why don't you go back to where the fuck you came from? Like, how you gonna come into somebody's house and tell them they need to leave?
Right.
Then you gonna come and tax the land on them. You see what I'm saying? Charge them for shit that they wasn't paying for in the first place. Flip this shit all upside down so that you can become that slave forever, damn it.
See, like, you don't really want to look at how dirty this game is, because think about it now. Like, if we had this shit first and we weren't paying taxes on things, we had water, we had land, we could do what we wanted. But now I'm paying taxes to the day I die. That's a shitty deal, ain't it? I'm free though.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that freedom is relative. It's theoretical. You think about how certain, like, I mean, even government can restrict your movements.
Clearly
by
they do.
Putting you on certain no-fly lists and things of that nature. So, I mean, freedom is relative. Your freedom is based on you not doing anything against the government, or you not saying or doing anything which they deem illegal. So freedom is, it's a theoretical thing. Even white folks have this idea that they're free, but it's theoretical for you too. It might be less theoretical for you than it is for us, but it's theoretical.
I mean, like, freedom, you're right. I had to adapt to my own way of freedom, meaning free thinking.
Right.
Because you can't do everything that you want to do. You can try. Actually, you can. But there's some consequences and repercussions to it. Because, one, you have man-made laws, and then you have universal laws. So, and that's to be respected. Because if I test a universal law, I might die. You test man-made laws, you get locked up. You can die too, you know what I'm saying? Because somebody else might inflict something on you. But so, I mean, laws, I would say, could be a necessity. But how you govern someone,
right?
Who you impose the laws on, how you implement the laws. Like, these ain't just laws, man. These are obstacles. Right. These are hindrances. These are intentionally, like, shit put in place so that you can't succeed and you can't achieve. And it's only for one particular set, a group of people. Like, if it's me and then it's, we'll say, Blair, and Blair go in there and you say Blair can get the loan, but I go in there and I can't, right off the rip, man, shit. You see what I'm saying? Right. Then, okay, I ain't never seen a job that was a culture. The job can't do itself, right? So, laying concrete. If I'm black, I can lay concrete.
If I'm Mexican, I can lay concrete. If I'm white, I can lay concrete. So how you gonna discriminate on the job? You see what I'm saying? But that's that's happening.
I mean, you think of it's all about advancement, and if I can give, I mean, I'm giving you a good. If I can give him a job and not give you the job and keep him moving forward, that's what's gonna happen. I mean, people say, people say all the time that it's not about race, but why do they still have? You have to check black or white off on your application.
I was going to get to that. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
and here's the kicker too.
On the census, it says black. I mean, things of that nature. They want you to say the country is colorblind, but you still have places where they ask that question: are you black
all
or white?
places,
right?
And the kicker too, though, is when you say, "Okay, we'll do it ourselves." Now they want to bomb you. You see what I'm saying? Want to Black Wall Street you,
right,
Rosewood you and things like that. I find that so you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Speaking of Tulsa and Rosewood, people don't realize that Wilmington, North Carolina had an issue back in 1869 where they were, the black and white folks were working together in Wilmington for a very long time. For I don't know how many years exactly. For a long time, to the point that one person had, he had 3 banks in Wilmington. The black guy owned 3 banks in Wilmington.
See, they ain't gonna have that. That's when the feds get involved.
But the white folks not the white folks within Wilmington, but in another town, I forget the name of the town, felt like, hey, we can't have them white and black folks working together to make a prosperous life over in Wilmington. So they came over, did what they did basically in Tulsa. But the thing was in Wilmington, they didn't necessarily burn the town. What they did was created a coup and took over the town. The racists, the white supremacists got voted in as mayor and city people and people that runs the town itself. And at that time, the black folks were getting pushed out or scared. I think at one point they had a submachine gun on one of those tank things. Yeah. Where they said they were shooting black folks down in the streets.
Still bomb black.
So and then they burnt down the black newspaper and stuff. But this was way before Tulsa. This was almost 60 years before Tulsa. It was just that all that information was buried and covered up to the point to where no one knew about it. It's just been recently discovered that happened. So and then we sit back and we don't read about our history. For one thing, we have some fault in some of this stuff too, because we got to do better at teaching ourselves and our children to read so these histories won't go away. I mean, they're trying to get this stuff out the books now. They trying to get it out of the history books. They change it. I mean, think about a couple of last year sometime they were talking about how slavery was a benefit to black folks. We learned crafts and stuff as a slave.
Never been a benefit to nothing.
But
that's the
narrative that they were pushing. That's the narrative
that
they're gonna continue to push, because they were saying that that history makes white children feel sad or makes them feel.
Well, it should. It should make them dig a hole and damn near jump in that bitch.
So. But we gotta be vigilant in making sure that this history does not disappear. Even they get so evil that they do little things like getting rid of diversity and equity programs in schools and in colleges and in jobs, and then black folks get on board with this stuff saying, oh, it's for the transgender. Yeah, but how long do you think they're gonna apply this stuff? They're just gonna, as we've seen over the centuries. It becomes a blanket effect, and black folks are always the ones who get covered in the blanket.
So the way I look at it is like, you're not going to eradicate racism. It's like you just said, it's been in existence. And when you get down to the root of it, is how they view us. So now I don't have to change the way somebody view me because they viewing me. They got to change. I'm gonna be who I am. Right. And you should respect me as long as, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's a righteous, since we talking about rights. As long as I'm righteous, there should be no issue of the color that I am. Yeah, right. But in researching, you know what I'm saying, like the way that they viewed us in the past, I mean, could be some of it present too, but I mean, like, incapable of governing ourselves. to me, the key word is governing. And we got a government that was established by them.
Right.
So what you think you gonna get, but hey, we can keep playing the game with it. They say we vicious and savage.
That's true.
Okay, now, yeah, that of course they had that. They've been thought that now,
Lazy and
but
trifling
but
and corrupt.
yeah, but and we're not. But now, you know, if I call myself that, that's all I'm gonna say.
Right.
I mean, if somebody else call me that, then I mean, am I playing into the stereotype? You just never know. And this is what's crazy as well. I really didn't like this at all, but they view us as not believing in and having virtue in our women.
Right.
And that's some bullshit.
Right.
You know, and my thing is, okay, so I'm not Asian, I'm not white, you know, I'm not Indian, you know, Arab or any of that, right? And I'm not sitting here thinking of how that culture should be treating their women. That's them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here thinking they can't be governed, because who am I to say about, you know, another culture? What? So how can you say that about us when, one, we were already established, and two, we were established somewhere else, and you took us here, but yet we the ones that can't be governed. You see what I'm saying? We the ones that don't have virtuous thoughts.
Well, you know, a while back they were saying that black folks, that black women were hyposexual, and that they were, you know, basically, this was back, you know, 1800s, 1900s, saying that black women were sexual and that black men only wanted to rape white women. That was their view in life. That's what they wanted to do. That's why, you know, one of the reasons that marijuana is outlawed, you know, because they said that when black men smoke marijuana, it makes them sexual and want to rape white women. So, but anyway, they feel that way, but and they say that we do not protect our black, but we've always protected our women. It's just a matter of what part are you going to view or what part are you going to show, because we've always done so.
And on that, I'm going to say this. I'm going to touch on this. First of all, man, no. What the translation to what that hypersexuality? No, they just look beautiful. They voluptuous, all shapes, all sizes, all colors. And your sexual ass fantasizing about them. That's all that is.
That's what
it ain't got nothing to do with us. Oh, and as far as not being virtuous, right? Didn't y'all have to kill us to stop us from trying to protect our women? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Didn't you have to make examples of some people, behead some people, chop some penises off and stuff like that? I think that would make us damn near almost stand back a little bit, and we still buck the system. So that not virtuous for our women shit. No, that you miss me with all that. But like I say, the audacity though.
Right.
You see, and then to create a system to create us into criminals, but call us criminals. You see what I'm saying? Like, you put laws into place wherein they even had I think a after sunset law.
Well, you know, they had sundown towns.
Yeah, that type shit.
Like Forsyth County used to be one. You know, the black folks couldn't be caught in that town after sundown.
And those were like codes though.
Yeah,
and they would be like, man, well, we arrested you for selling watermelon after sunset or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? A way to arrest somebody and get them caught in the system.
It's always ways to do that. I mean, they always gonna think of ways to make that happen. But yeah, those sundown towns, basically, they didn't want black folks in certain towns after sundown. I mean, that's a part of the Jim Crow era. That's a part of, like you talking about, it's a part of racism and racism's history. That's
interesting thing. Now, Jim Crow wasn't a southern thing; it was up north too. You see what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
It's basically the USA. You see,
you know,
what I'm
when
saying?
they had the Great Migration, right? When they had a Great Migration where black folks moved from down south to up north, because they thought they were going to get jobs. But what tended to happen was, when they moved up north from down south, they ran into the same laws that were down here. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, clearly.
They ran into the same black,
because it's the USA,
laws, right?
See what I'm saying?
That they had down here. So it wasn't necessarily the migration was a better thing. It was just that, you know, we were trying to find jobs, even though they kept saying we were lazy. We're moving hundreds of miles to a place we do not know about in order to get jobs, because up north they had the factories and stuff. So that's what we were moving up there to. That's what we were migrating to, because there really was no jobs for us down here in the South at that time. But when we got up there, we ran into the same problems we had down in the South. It's just that the South was politicized so much and was shown as that way so much that even with me, I was born and raised in Chicago, right? Even when I moved down here to come to college to go to Morehouse, you know, my friends told me, hey, you moving down there to Georgia, you better be careful, because the Klan gonna be waiting for you when you get off the plane. But that's just but at the same time though, at the same time, the only time I've ever been called the N-word was in Chicago. So it's kind of like,
hey, well, I'm gonna let you know
like,
right now, I seen the Klan with my own 2 eyes.
Right.
With the Red Grand Dragon on horseback, somewhere like, we'll say, early 90s in Riverdale.
Okay.
So they out here, man. You know what I'm saying?
They
been in existence. Oh, and as a matter of fact, they were actually formed because of freed slaves. You know what I'm saying? That and other shadow. It's more than the Klan out there. I ain't even really want to take the time out to acknowledge them and get their names, but it's about four groups or something similar to that.
Oh, well, there's a lot of them out here. It's not as necessarily a thing of the past. It's just more in the shadows than it was before.
And
you think about like the movie. Have you ever heard of the movie Birth of a Nation?
Yeah, and I'm just about to get on movies too, because that's part of the propaganda and stereotype, which makes it global.
Okay.
But yeah, that Birth of the Nation, man. Yeah, I know about that. Where they got us as savages running around damn near half naked, shit coming out our noses, and the white women supposed to be scared of us, like we just supposed to be running and be so attracted to them.
Right.
You know, I mean, just
and that movie is what resurrected the Klan. And that was the first epic movie ever made in Hollywood. But that was what resurrected the Klan back in the 1920s, I want to say. And the President Woodrow Wilson, he watched the movie at the White House, and the first thing he said was, "It's a great movie, like writing history with a lightning rod. The only thing I hate is that it's so true." So he's perpetuating that image of us that's been perpetuated in the movies.
So here we go with that.
Right.
That's why I say racism is definitely global now, man. I mean, it's really, really rooted, we'll say, in westernized civilization, but global simply because, I mean, I'm gonna rattle off the names of some movies, and you can just imagine, like, our Caribbean brothers and sisters, Africans, just seeing us portrayed like this all the time.
Right.
And what you think they would think of us. But you got The Butler, The Help, 12 Years a Slave, 42, Race, Underground, Roots, Color Purple twice. We had to double up on that shit, y'all. You know what I'm saying? The Django Unchained, The Hate You Gave, When They See Us, Amistad. Shit, even Black Panther has some racist connotations in it. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this. If that's all they gonna see, that's all they gonna expect. That's all we gonna keep perpetrating. That's all we gonna keep recycling. Because the history, first of all, a lot of it is true, but the truth part doesn't get shined on the motherfuckers that, like, enabled us. You see what I'm saying? We get the brunt of it, meaning, like, everybody know about us. Everybody know about our plight in it. But what about the other plight? What about the laws that was in place? What about the folks that wrote the Constitution and how they had slaves? What were they doing to their slaves? They surely weren't cooking them motherfuckers bed and breakfasts. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Washing clothes for them and fluffing pillows. So come on, you know, I mean, like banana in the tailpipe type shit.
Right. Right.
And just to see how the treatment of us, meaning like, okay, we went from being lynched, burned, tied to the back of pickup trucks, dismembered, shepherds being sicked on us, water holes, to being pepper sprayed, shot with rubber bullets, killed on, you know what I'm saying, on camera, shot and killed, unarmed, kneeled on to death, you know what I'm saying, choking us out, all these different things. So where has it really changed? It's not discreet, it's still the same, it's strategic.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say that it's, you see, like, I don't want to really get into how, like, the government assistance now is kind of piggybacking off of how they kept us in that perpetual circle in the past. But you would have to say government ain't for us, so how can that be helping? We still
you know that back in the day when they were giving us government assistance or welfare, as we called it back then, you know, that whole thing with having to have the black man can't be in the house in order to help the black woman with these children. So that breaks up the family right there. There's always a reason why things are done. There's never just done just to do it. If that strong black man is not within that household, what you think will have to happen to the household after a couple of years or a couple of generations? Because now it becomes a cycle of my daddy wasn't there, you know what I'm saying, why I need to be there, which is what they think. But you know, they push that propaganda and that misinformation that black men don't take care of their children, and that's furthest from the truth. We talked about that before. Black men take care of their children. You just don't show that side of black men taking care of their children because you want to perpetuate the image that that's not what happens. That the reason why black children are doing this or doing that is because the black man and his black father's not in the family. A lot of black fathers may not be in the household, but they are within their children's lives. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to be there and to be a impact on your child. You know what I'm saying? So that whole breaking up the black family was a systematic thing to me.
Here's what is kind of a thorn in my side. And here's where I say I would take, or as a people, we should take just a little bit of blame, and that's it. Because we ain't taking a lot of this blame, not on this shit.
Right.
But the little bit of blame that I take is this: if we look at the narrative and we look at what we look like as a family unit, as a culture, as black people in the 60s, that shit was wonderful.
We were great, weren't we?
We controlled the narrative. We controlled whatever stereotype that they wanted to have, because we out here fighting. We out here organizing. You know what I'm saying? We out here raising money. We out here being intellectually sound, spiritually sound as well, digging to our roots, all of that. We looking like black power. We the emphasis of black goddesses and gods, right? In the 60s, right?
Because that's when we were told we couldn't have, but we wanted to show you that we could have.
So where we at now?
Well, like Martin Luther King said, you know, he integrated us into a burning building. You know, once you integrate us into a place that's already Sodom and Gomorrah, what happens is the inhabitants of that Sodom and Gomorrah, once you move more people in, they start taking up the same thing as the people that's there.
And that's the problem, because you said we moved into a burning building. Shit, I know some black firefighters. Put that shit out.
Right, but but at that point, when you're in a burning building that's not yours, you can't really put people in place to put that fire out if it's not, for one, not your fire, and it's not your house. So you're integrating into something. So you're getting used to those things. You're trying to, you get what I'm saying? You're
I hear you.
You go visit somebody over their house, you don't just start cooking. You wait and see what's gonna happen. You get what I'm saying? You don't just start fixing shit because it's not your house. You got to feel welcome there before you start doing certain things.
So I ask you this then, because you said when you go in somebody's house, you don't start cooking and shit like that, right? So if somebody using the bathroom and you see they stove about to be on fire, and all it takes is for you to cut the stove off, you're gonna just let the shit be on fire because it's their house and you didn't ask permission to walk through that motherfucker?
That thing there that's a hypothetical, and that there is not what happened with us when we got integrated. When integration happened, that's not what happened.
No, you're right.
The stove. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: you can't reach to turn it off. But if the person that owns the house, and when you reach to turn it off, they tell you, "Hell no, don't touch my stove."
So
then what you do?
Here's the thing. Okay, cool with all of that. The thing is, you can say don't touch your stove. I can just walk out, let you burn with the shit.
Right. But
the thing is this, right? It didn't matter whether we integrated or we separated.
Right.
Because if you have a constitution and the Declaration of Independence and a government that we had already stated back before had slaves, keep you locked up, like, and it's not good for you, what difference did it make? Like, if we were to, let's say, separate right now, we would still have some of the same issues, meaning if we decide, if we advance more, they're going to want some of that shit. Or they're going to start Rosewood all over again. You never know. I mean, but I would think maybe something like that would happen. But why not try it, though?
Well, for one, let me give you one good reason why. as a people, we're too separated ourselves. What did you hear? What the comedian said? That he went over to Russia or China. I think he said China or Japan or something. He said that we're so. I think he said Godfrey. He said that he was talking to the man over here. He said, "Yeah, you know, black people are great. Everybody wants to be you. They love your culture. They love your who you are, what you come up with. But you guys can't even organize crime."
Damn. I mean, well, look, okay. I said, believe it or not, that shit hit hard.
Right. Because, you can't even organize crime.
Because I've been down that lane, and damn, we can't. But the thing is this. I mean, first of all, that could be resolved because it simply boils down to respect and ego. You can alter those. You can change respect factors and ego levels. If you egotistical to the point where you just an asshole, then we just don't even involve you. And then guess what? Your ego might get a check if you see we have advanced and you need us. Like, I'll give you an example. You can be an ego maniac, a billionaire or whatever, but if you stroked out and I knew how to revive you, you gonna need me.
Right.
And then that's gonna bring that ego down.
Right.
So here we go with that. But
to a certain, it's gonna bring the ego down until
you fully back to your ego again. I get it.
You get what I'm saying? And I think more of forget white folks. We gotta think about us.
Thank you. Yeah,
and us as a whole, we gotta get to a point to where, and it won't be this generation. It might not be until two generations later on to where we realize that for us, we all we got. We got to start organizing crime. We got to start coming together as a people, as a whole.
Here we go. Right?
Because you can't have some feeling a certain way about certain things and others feeling another way about other things, because that just divides us on small incremental things that can be repaired if we just come together and talk about them.
We unite for entertainment.
Right.
We don't unite for our well-being.
Advancement of colored people.
So,
black people.
yeah, because I mean, unification, uniting is going to a HBC Morehouse homecoming.
Right.
That's uniting. Y'all organized and planned all that.
Right.
Y'all can organize, plan, and get some entertainment though. Right. Okay, we used to do the same damn thing, in the '60s. But that organization led to movement, led to advancement, led to power, it led to unlocking and opening doors. So my thing is, we ain't gotta unite and take on no government. Shit, unite and create shit better for our situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly the point. We should be able to do that. That's something that we should see that we need to do for not for us, but for our future generations. And the only way we're going to be able to have the only way the future generations are going to be able to advance forward and do better than what we're doing is we lay the foundation for them, or start or put up the framework or something. In order for but right now we're too worried about if Diddy getting arrested. We're too worried about Drake and Future and Metro Boomin fighting. We're too worried about who Lotto's sleeping with. We're so engrossed with entertainment and people that really wouldn't care if we were on fire and piss on us.
But see, maybe
that's a distraction. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Because them supposed to be quote unquote our martyrs. If that's who y'all look up to, and these motherfuckers is pedophiles and now getting raided, and that's what you want that kind of money, you want that kind of life, then that's what's happening.
No, they're not gonna do. Why would I? Let me tell you something. Why would they? Because they had plenty of time. I'm gonna give you a good example. When all this rap stuff was going on, and all these people were creating all these labels, you had the Jay-Z's, the Big Diddy's, Dr. Dre's, billionaires in the industry, and they were complaining about the record labels not paying them. Why couldn't all of them unite, start their own record labels and distribution, and still get the same amount of money? Because everybody's preference for rap and entertainment is different. Just because you all united on one stage and has one company doesn't mean the money is going to be less, because I might not like the same rapper you like. So I'm going to buy that other rapper's album and you going to buy this. So it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be a one umbrella. You don't have to complain about it, but they didn't do that.
What you were looking at were rich slaves.
Right. They
You're looking at
that.
Somebody in a slavery contract. They got money, but that money in them accounts are damn near accessible by who owns you.
Right.
By the companies. You see what I'm saying? You got company accounts with a subsidiary. Nigga, that ain't your money. You see what I'm saying? But now here's the thing. And this is what I keep trying to say. You don't need the government to make money. You just got to pay the government after you make it.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Right.
If you unite and you make all the money you want to make, they coming. The IRS coming for your ass. But be legal with it. And what they gonna do?
Have all your ducks in a row.
Thank you. I mean, you don't have to vote for nobody to make no changes for you. All you gotta do is get with your brothers and your sisters, your cousins, your folk. We supposed to be folk, but we can't do no business. We never can do business, but we folk.
We can't do
We
that.
hanging out. I know niggas from damn near kindergarten, middle school. But when it come to business, you can't put a black and white contract in front of us and we get down and do something. We can't unite unless we want to fuck off and watch a football game.
If we
How come we can't unite and buy some property and then get an architect to build something on there maybe for the homeless?
Because if we buy property and we sell that property and we do something on that property, I'm gonna be worried about how much money you gonna get out versus me.
See, that's the thing, man. It ain't even about the money. It's about the movement. See, that's why you gotta have some kind of morals and purpose and love involved in this shit, or else you ain't gonna get nowhere. Like the love for my people means I'll do some things for free for them.
Right.
That's just how it got to be.
Right.
I can't tax you for every fucking thing in life that I do for you.
Right.
Or you ain't gonna have no trust in me because I'm all be about $1. If you always about $1, then you bought and paid for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know how to roll up my sleeves and be like, hey man, this one on the house today.
Right.
Or I know how to come into a place and be like, hey, it's on me. You see what I'm saying? Before I just be like, what you gonna pay me for showing up? But you're right, man. When you got a mogul that is not a charitable type of person, then you're not gonna have unity behind it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I don't know who made all these celebrities leaders of the black community anyway.
Thank you, because I sure enough did.
I didn't get that memo or that ballot to vote for them to do so. You know, a lot of times we let celebrities tell us, you know, give us motivational speeches and shit like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times them motherfuckers are just lucky. They don't have anything to do with how intelligent
Or
they
they
are.
just bent over.
They just lucky. I mean, shit. I mean, they made a song that hit off, and they made a couple more songs that hit off, and they just lucky.
Yeah.
Shit. Everybody has luck. The sun shines on a dog's day at least. A dog at least once time in his lifetime. So don't. I just don't know who voted for these folks to be the leaders that we seem to want them to be, because in order to lead, you got to be sacrificed. And I tell people all the time, there is no revolution without sacrifice. Somebody's got to be sacrificed. Something has to go. Somebody has to go. You have to give up something in order for the future to be able to move forward. And if you're not willing to give up nothing, don't be a part of my revolution, because you're going to tell on me. You're going to tell our plans. You're going to give me up to the enemy in order to keep money. You know, keep doing what you're doing. So no, I don't want that type of person in my revolution.
It's funny you mentioned that, because you said future. So when you speak on future, I think of generation, I think of history, I think of the youth, right? So with the history, the reason why it's kind of important to show all of what we had going on before, during, and after slavery, because if you usually start with historical facts that's dealing with blacks, you're going to start with slavery, or you're going to start in the 60s with the 60s movement. And guess who controlled that history?
Of course.
We don't control that history right there, folks. You might think we do, but we don't. Actually, we were fighting for our future during that part of the history. But that shit is bogus, man. Because that's got whites all and racists and racism shit all intertwined in it. So you really think that's your history?
The victor writes the history. The person who wins the wars writes the history.
Get the spoils. Yeah,
Right.
thank you. They do. Yeah, see, you know, how were we living before them fucking pilgrims and whoever you say came over here? What's that history like? You see what I'm saying? We want to know that as well. We want to know the before, the in between, the after, and the now. You see what I'm saying? So you can understand. If you knew what really went on before that shit, then you would see what racism, how it's systematically in place. You would understand when it started clicking in. You would understand the difference between two different, maybe, complexion of people that can still coexist, or like Lab and I were discussing when we were offline, it wasn't necessarily about maybe enslaving someone because it wasn't racist. It was about you just a prisoner of war. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you know, they have that
was,
narrative that they're trying to push that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't. Ain't nobody trying to enslave you. You just got caught and you working because you weren't our tribe.
You know, they had that narrative that black folks need to get over slavery because there were slaves since the beginning of time. This is true. There have been slaves for the beginning of time, but those slaves were generally prisoners of war. Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, stuff for those Nubians. Back when those times when they were war, Napoleon, those were prisoners of war. You get what I'm saying? So at that time, that's what they did. They when they captured you as a prisoner of war, they took you back to their land and they made you work it.
And I was gonna say, and back then, as a prisoner of war, when they captured you, they didn't change no laws just to keep you there. Then breed you out, mate you down the line, create a whole governmental system just specifically to keep you where you at and keep you in bondage how you are. No, it didn't go down like that. Your ass just wasn't part of the tribe. You got caught. You did some work, and that's the end of it.
Well, they died. They worked.
Of course they. You know what I'm saying? Of course that. But I'm just saying. All right, now, wasn't no dismemberment, wasn't no lynching. You see what I'm saying?
I think the whole problem is that we wasn't at war. Africans wasn't at war with the Americas when they came and got us in 1690. We wasn't at war with each other. They just,
now,
you get what I'm saying? They came over.
We can touch on that.
They made a wrong turn.
Yeah.
And ended up in Africa. You get what I'm saying? So
speaking of war, and I always had to ask people this. I be asking my elders this, and these folks, these I love to vote folks, these Georgia Peachers. I be asking them this, right? So you gotta have a war, and you gotta die, shoot them up on this soil for what we call freedom, which we still don't even have. What make you think you gonna get what you need now?
Actually, also, what?
See, like, okay, if it took a war, right? It took a war. It took death. We'll say it took Mr. Nat Turner and others like-minded like that to crack that off to get us halfway free.
Okay.
Then it took a war. You know what I'm saying? Whites and blacks involved. U.S. involved, North and South involved, to quote-unquote get us halfway free.
Okay.
What do we think is going to get us all the way free? If there ever is any freedom.
That's just not, I think we are thinking of total freedom. I mean, don't get me wrong, this country is more free than a lot of others. But, like I said earlier, it's theoretical. I mean, because they still have ways that they can keep you from moving about. They still have ways they can tell you what you can and can't do, what you can. I mean, you think about it, like, and of course, some of these laws are in place for the betterment of us, but at the same time, the politicians say, "Oh, we want less government in your life," and at the same time, they add more laws to have the government be more intrusive in our lives. So. You get what I'm saying? Like, how do you relegate that? How do you say one thing on one hand, but behind your back you making laws to make more intrusive into my life?
What would happen? Okay, like, cause I give you some ideas. It's funny that you mentioned that. You said organized crime, right?
Yeah, we can't organize.
No. Listen, but the key word to that was organized.
Right.
All right, so if you got criminals that can organize, right? Clearly, we can organize. So what happens, right? If you have an organization, let's just say like you had 100 black men, right?
Right.
Well, what if it was 100 million black men?
Right.
Or 100 million black men and 100 million black women, right? Now, wouldn't that organization have some rules to it?
Of course.
Some guidelines?
Of course.
All right. So, with that said, you got, let's say, 200 million blacks. Because you got 100 million black men, 100 million black women. And we all, let's say, rock with, let's say, we call ourselves tribal unit. Okay, what do you think that would do, or what kind of impact you think that would have on the government if tribal unit, that 100 million black men, 100 million black women across all states across the country, we decided we wanted to invest in ourselves and have particular banks and stuff like that and hospitals set up and stuff like that within this system? What you think would happen to us?
They would crush that system.
How you crush 100? How you crush 200 million people?
With the will of the other 100 and the other 8 billion people.
So my thing is,
That's how
you got to get enough people then so that there's doubt.
You're
Like
right.
enough people.
That's questionable.
Yeah, enough. Okay, so
Like,
we'll
if we
say
do
like
this
this
to these people.
Yeah,
It's got to
like-
be a hesitation to go.
Well, here
if
it
we do
is.
this to these
If
people,
you have-
our country's gonna be worse off. You get what I'm saying?
Well, it's basically like a juror, right? It's like a pool of jurors. So if you sway one of them motherfuckers, then nobody can get. All right. So my thing is, if you had so you said with other people, after a while it'll be so many of us that some of them folks would have to almost want to agree. Are they gonna be like, man, there's so many of them, it don't make sense for us to try to do this, or we got to be wrong,
Right.
Or what are they on that's so, you know what I'm saying, that maybe we need to be on. At some point, it's got the balance
balance
for
itself out.
yeah for
I
for
think
us.
For us, even though we build that within the system, we still have to follow the laws of the system. But
Clearly.
at the same time, if all of us was on the same page, we were organized to that point that you just said, it would be a political issue, a political play for us because we would have that much sway. And now a lot of us don't believe in the political process, and a lot of it is justified. But at the same time, if you have that much political power, you have to see what it does.
So this is what I want to say, right? What if the political system was illegal? Because look at what Trump did, right? And he still get to run, right? Okay. Look at all these other damn scandals you have, and all these other politicians that's been arrested and locked up. Some done had private airports, landing ports, so you can get cocaine and stuff in the country. Some done sold guns to other countries to have wars, sold private information. So far what I've seen, the government the biggest criminals, right? So we legal, we legit, and we asking some criminals to help us. How the fuck we looking, man? Like, it's not working either way we try it.
Well, the reason why we would ask those criminals, because until we are able to, regardless of what, the criminals got the bigger guns. I'm just gonna put it 100%.
So now we talking.
I'm
now
giving
here you said the
100%.
guns. Okay,
I'm
now,
gonna give you 100%.
Hey, hit your little boom, 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 boom on that one. Thank you. All right, yeah, one for you on that.
I'm gonna give you 100% of
the truth, the
benefit.
shenanigans and shit that's
Right.
going on with this. Okay.
the rabbit has the guns.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what
yeah,
happens is, when you scare a rabbit, they don't really necessarily know what you're going to do. The only thing they know to do is to react to save themselves. So if the rabbit has the guns and we are organizing to the point that where there's 200 million of us together, one harmony, doing all the things that we need to do together to advance our people, you know how scary that is? Think about how scary it
That
is.
shit wonderful, man.
But no, not it's wonderful to us. But how scary would it be to other folks? Like,
Okay.
you can't break like this.
Okay.
This a wall of 200 million black folks.
Okay.
You can't break this wall. I don't know, no matter what you do now. Like Slick says, you won't count the majority because it's always one. But you can't break this wall because they all are so in tune with themselves and each other. You know how. You know what I'm saying? They're so harmonized, they're
here we
so
go.
organized
Here we
that
go.
it's just like, oh my God, there's nothing
Here we
we
go.
can't do.
Here we go. All we did was organize, right? We could just be hand in hand singing, and we scary. We threatening now all of a sudden, right? But now, how scary is chopping a nigga's head off, hanging, coming home and you seeing somebody burning from a tree? You got gasoline and a cross burnt in your yard. You getting bombing babies and shit, and that's not terroristic and that's not scared. We supposed to respect that. You see what I'm saying? You want to unite and do that shit? No. So yeah, let's get 200 million of us up. Let's see what happens. Show me then. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Because if we not coming like that, then who gives a fuck?
Right.
I mean, if I could put that many people together, if I died tomorrow, it wouldn't matter to me. Because I'm like, that's the whole point and purpose. If you could do it once, you could do it again. We did the March on Washington, right? You did the Million Man March. At some point, somebody would think of a 10 million man march. Then they'll think of a 50 million man, 100 million man march. And next thing you know, we in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I think the idea is grand. The idea is great, and it's a beautiful idea when you close your eyes and you think about it. But we are too fragmented right now. we are so fragmented as a people. We have so many different ideas of how what we want for our lives and how we want to live and how we want to be, that the whole is not a part of that idea. The whole of us as a people is not a part of that idea. I mean, you got some, some black folks who don't even want to talk about the things we're talking about. You got some black folks who want to talk about it. You got some black folks who don't even care about it. You know what I'm saying? So,
but they do care about money, right? They care about survival.
Everybody cares about survival and money.
They care about freedom.
Right.
So to me, I mean, well, it's a necessity to be talking about these things because we're walking into losing a lot of this shit, believe it or not. Yeah. And it ain't nothing you can do about it politically anyway, voting wise anyway. So you might as well unite. You see what I'm saying? Because at one point we don't even understand. If it say we are the people, then we are the damn people, man.
Right.
What else you want to be? I mean, it's power in numbers, strength in numbers. Shit. I mean, one man trying to build a house ain't gonna make it. Somebody got to hold the ladder.
Right. Somebody got to hold the ladder. Somebody got
So I mean,
the nails in.
You know, when we can just get over that fact, man. Like, god damn, man.
Right.
I mean, come on now. Like you can unite to do parties and shit. You know what I'm saying? Show up strong for a Freaknik, then show up strong for this shit. Like, I'm just saying, man, like, it can't all be about partying and bullshitting, man. Like, I get it when you young. I get it.
You know, money is the root of all evil. You know, a lot of black folks vote for Trump because he gave us stimulus checks.
But are you rich from that stimulus check?
But that's the thing. They think it's gonna happen again, so they willing
man,
to.
Who gives a shit? It ain't gonna make you wealthy. It ain't gonna make a change in society. Is what we need. It's just gonna put some change in your pocket. You gotta stop trying to be bought. If you remove money from this government system, who would you be and what would you be? What would you be trying to do? How would you view people? You know what I'm saying? So like. My life and my world don't spin around the dollar that I make. I make that motherfucker, but I basically be giving it away.
Right.
And I give knowledge and help away. You know what I'm saying? Which is why we talking about this conversation, this racist ass conversation we got to have. Because, like it or not, it ain't going nowhere, and it's only becoming more prevalent. You know, and people are getting more bold with it.
Oh, they're definitely getting more bold.
Yeah, and strategic with it. You know, we from the sports owners, you know, all the way down to the corporations. I mean, we've had like them little Starbucks incidents. Then you had the coach. I mean, well, not the coach, the owner of the Clippers with his thing. You know, people say what they want to say.
And how they want to say it and when they want to say it.
Yeah, you got a lot of entertainers there to say that N word, then backtrack on it.
Yeah, I say I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, and don't get canceled or whatever it is.
I don't think things will get better to a couple of generations. Unfortunately, for me, our time is gone. It's past, so it's not going to get any better right now. But I think maybe a couple of generations down the line, maybe it'll get better for us as a people in general. Maybe we all come together. See, you know, I'm going to go back to the organizing thing. You know, one thing about the Black Panthers, what happened with them was they were organizing black folks, but what they now I'm not gonna say messed up. What they was smart at was they was organizing poor white folks as well with us. And when you do that, when you make poor white folks and black folks see that they're fighting for the same things, and get them to understand that we are all trying to get to the same place. It is not me and you, not you and me against each other. It's us against them. Oh my God!
Then that's when they send the FBI on you.
Right, that's what happens.
But here's reasons why I think as we should be uniting. When you don't unite, shit like gentrification start happening. Redlining starts happening to you. You see what I'm saying? You really do yourself a disservice when you start separating and not wanting to combine, you know, and invest in yourself and put back into the neighborhoods and things, because then what happens is people move in and make that shit more expensive for you, and you out of there now. You know, and it's sad to see that put in new street lights, speed bumps, underground cables, new sewer systems, better restaurants and all that shit, and then you got to go. You know, you were there when the streets was stinking. You see what I'm saying? You were there when it was dirty. You were there when they didn't require coats of paint on the house, and that man could have 5 cars in the driveway and depreciate the value of shit. But when they come in and then they start issuing them citations and clean everything out and make that shit livable and how you would want it, you got to go.
That's right.
So, yeah, man, I think, I'm all for that. Once again, I'm gonna keep saying unite, man. I mean, damn, it would be less problems we would have, believe it or not. Let's actually, you can call people out. You know how you like bait that wolf out. You can really see what you have when you do what you're supposed to do. You can see if there's some hatred for you.
Right.
If we really united like that, like I said, at 200 million, then you could see what's gonna happen. Because if it's something to try to stop that, then you know right then and there
what's going on.
Exactly, and you know how they want society to be. And I'm concerned because I'm not necessarily for any kind of corporation, conglomerate, system, whatever you want to call it, that would pretty much implement evil or negativity. Spearhead, we'll just say, a negative holy war, damn per se, or spearhead a civil war, or just spearhead confusion as it is.
Right.
And like I say, I mean, we have what we think we call laws and constitutions in place, but where these moralistic people that we done voted on actually activating that and making sure that shit happens. We got a constitution and y'all done voted on, folks, but we got racist cops shooting us, supposed to be quote unquote upholding this constitution that we have. So this shit don't be making no sense to me, y'all. It really don't. It don't make no sense that we vote the same slave masters in to hold us down. And we waiting to do it. Like, while you waiting on these 4 years and you waiting on these quarters to go walk your ass to the booth and get a sticker, did you unite with anybody before you did that and do something for your own self and for your own color and for your own people? Because if you're not going to do shit for somebody that look like you, how do you expect somebody old and shriveled the fuck up with a receding hairline and crow's feet that ain't your color to do something for you? I don't get it.
I think a lot
And I
of
wasn't
times,
even gonna try to preach on that shit like that, but it's coming.
I think a lot of times we get caught up in the process, and we don't really realize the system. This is something that we do. This is something that we've been doing. So why stop doing it? Now, national elections are okay. But where we need to get smarter is in these local elections, because gentrification happens when you don't go to the zoning, when you don't go to the zoning and check out what they're changing in your area for zoning, when you don't pay the taxes on grandma's house and someone buys a house on the courthouse steps for $2,000 in taxes. This happens. That's when that stuff happens. But those things are changed and done by local officials. You get what I'm saying? Those things happens from local elections. So we got to build from the ground up. We got to start with the city, state, county, all those things first. Then we can worry about the national, because once we get home better, then we can work on on nation better. You get what I'm saying?
See, man, once again, like, I can't see this going through no government, because once again, the Constitution is the same as it fucking was. And it wasn't. It's racist, man. Like, I don't believe in all that. I'm just saying like that, because right now, man, if we had some billionaires and they were our color, they can start moving and shaking with that money. They wouldn't necessarily be waiting on no politician to know. Guess what? As a matter of fact, them billionaires be greasing them politicians' hands. Fuck, man, you literally had an Escobar in politics, man. So what does that tell? I keep trying to tell you. And hey, shout out to Escobar. Like I say, ain't nobody, but that just goes to show you what kind of realm you get in when you get in this government and you get in these politics. Granted, he didn't last long, but he made it in that motherfucker. And that should tell you something. That should tell you something. Trump should tell you something. It should tell you something. And if it don't, I don't know what to tell you. But I ain't waiting on no government. And I never have, and I never will.
Well, the problem with why we say that the government has to help, because unfortunately, no matter how we think and how we think we don't want to wait on them, we don't need them, they have all the cards. So we got to play the game. We got to figure out a way to get Uno, craps,
21
or poker or something, because we've got to play the game in order to get the cards that we need to do what we need to do.
I'm gonna tell you what the government got. The government just got laws. The cards are actually natural resources. Shit, I guess they got that too. But something they don't own all natural resources because there be some billionaires and shit that got some of the resources.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and they paying off. You know what I'm saying with the feds with that. But like I say, so man,
they got. See, let me tell you something. The natural resources. Yeah, the government has all the natural resources. And they making sure that they keep all the natural resources, and all governments are doing it. That's why China is investing so much in Africa. Because to be honest with you, Africa has the richest natural resources deposits in the world. So they invest in that, and they get those natural resources. But natural resources aside, that's because those are something that we need. The laws that they have in place are in order for them to control those natural resources. So we've got to play their game until we figure out, until we can get somebody who can master it and tell us how to do it, because the game is to be, you know what I'm saying?
So basically you asking the devil for ice water.
Exactly. And you know why?
That shit gonna be boiling if he give it to you.
Not necessarily.
Lose,
if I tell him in the way that way he gonna bring it to me, cool. You get what I'm saying? You've got to be
able
to.
That's the thing. You don't make a deal with the devil.
Oh, we've already done that, brother. You've already done that. You've already done that. You go. Let me tell you how you go. You need to realize that you already made a deal with the devil. You go run that stop sign outside in front of a car, or go run the red light in front of a car and see what happens.
When you shielded by the Holy One, you wouldn't do a dumb move like that.
But you're talking about not being a part of the government and not being a part. They control your everyday life.
Remember, I told you, right? I said you got man-made laws and you have universal laws, right? And I said I wouldn't. I'm not gonna fuck with either one of them intentionally. Because
man-made laws trumps universal law because it fucks with you physically.
Universal law trump anything man-made.
Okay.
Anything man-made. Because I'm trying to tell you. Okay, a man-made law. Okay, shit. I go out there and run the stop sign. I get a ticket and I go home. Universal law, jump off your roof and tell me how you feel when you
see. You're throwing out a hypothetical one side.
I'm throwing out what really is though.
The universe is four-sided. The universe is 3D. It's a three-dimensional thing. You go outside, you run a stop sign, you get pulled up by the cop, he sees you reaching in your car, he thinks you're reaching for a gun, and he shoots you. It's the same thing as a universal law.
Here we go.
It's the same thing.
I just got pulled over by the police officer. Right. I got pulled over by a police officer Saturday. He told me my left brake light was out.
Okay.
Guess what happened? He pulls me over. I give him my driver's license. He tells me why he pulled me over and tells me have a nice day and go on. I didn't get a ticket, I didn't get a warning or nothing. Universal law, because I know how to fucking act. Universal law is how you act, how you move, the vibe you put out, the energy you put out. So clearly, did I say he pulled me over? I said the first thing I did was gave him my license. Did I say I had the music loud and I reached up under my seat? I reached into the dashboard. I started making sporadic jerks. I cursed him out. I asked him anything. I didn't ask that man shit. I know how to handle this. Because once again, I don't trust law enforcement who are part of the government. And the funny thing that you said that, you told me a man-made law or a universal law, you basically fused them. And you told me that a government officer of the government or the state will possibly shoot me over something. First of all, I wasn't even doing anything criminal. So now, I'm really supposed to trust this government again now? Here we go again.
You trust the government every day, whether you think it or not. You trust the government every day. Every day you get up, you trust in the government. When you go to work, you trust in the government. When you get your check, you trust in the government. You trust in the government to take out of your check the amount of money you owe for taxes, and you don't know how much that is.
I don't trust them. I hope they don't take out taxes. They just take it out.
But you trust them to take out the amount that they're...
I'm not putting my trust in. I don't even know who doing it.
You could fool yourself into thinking that you don't trust the government on a daily basis, but you do.
So what do you trust the government with?
I trust the government to make sure that nothing happens here as far as terrorist attacks. I trust the government to make sure that
but this the
I
thing.
can go to work and come home safely.
I don't wake up thinking about that because I'm not... let me
tell you something.
Okay, so you really think if Putin and them didn't want to just push a button and be suicidal, the government could stop that shit?
They can try.
Thank you, they could try. But that shit ain't got nothing to do. I don't trust the government with that. Hell, okay, so you trust the government, then why?
I don't care how you say it.
We over there fighting somebody else's war, and you trust that shit.
I don't care what you say. You trust
I
the
do
government.
not trust the government,
Local,
bro. I don't trust
city,
I don't trust no
county,
corporation that
state,
intentionally
or
give
federal.
people syphilis.
You
I don't
trust
no
them.
corporation that allow
Do you go to
lynching.
the doctor?
That's not the government. A doctor ain't the government, bruh.
Okay. He gets his. Where does he get his
As
license?
a matter of
Where
fact,
does he get
doctors
his
don't
license?
even be appreciating the government with that damn
What?
Obama shit. That
Where-
Obamacare.
where-
They don't like
where
that.
do-
by
where
the
do they
way.
get their license
Doctors
from?
have private.
Where do they get their license from to practice medicine?
Okay, so it may be the state boards and
Okay.
all of that.
All right, well,
It's the
Okay,
state
we're gonna
board that- yeah,
Agree
but-
to disagree on this one.
No, I said okay. So when I go to the hospital, right?
You
I'm
are
going
trusting
to-
that doctor that he has his license given to him by the government. You are trusting that doctor has went to school at a school that is sanctioned by the government, whether it's private or public. You are trusting that doctor to make sure that he knows.
And guess what that doctor can do? He can didn't I just say, hold up. Okay, so you trusted the government, right? Didn't I just give you an example of when I went to the cath lab and that doctor killed somebody?
Uh-huh.
So, man, come on, man. I don't trust that. I'm just saying. I don't
So
put
you don't
my
trust your
trust
doctor?
in shit like that.
You don't trust your doctor when you go.
I trust as far as what he is capable of doing. But
Okay.
if he fucked me up, damn.
But you just
what
said you don't
so what
trust
happens
it.
then?
You
If
just
he,
said you don't trust it, but
I said
I'm asking you, do you trust your doctor? When you go
as
to
far
the
as I
doctor,
have
when
to,
you-
I mean, I trust him. He can do more than what I can do. Like at that
Okay.
point, it's not necessarily trust. It's I can't do the shit that you have been taught to do. So I have to go ahead at some point and allow this shit, or else
Okay.
I'm gonna be walking around with a toothache.
Okay, I'm going to digress.
But I don't trust the government on that.
I'ma
I said I don't
digress.
trust the government. I ain't say nothing about not trusting no
Well,
doctor.
the doctor gets his
He
marching
might,
orders
but-
from the
okay,
government.
But did the government teach him? It's
Yes.
What government
Yes.
official taught that person? What
No,
did Trump or did the president teach that man?
The official didn't teach him the system within the
And how many times have we said we don't trust the government and we've been taught bullshit? See, man, these are trades, first of all. So trades sometimes
You need
get
to- you
passed
need to
on by
look-
folks that ain't got shit to even do with the government.
can't
The
pass
government
on-
just puts the laws
you
in
can't
place by
pass
the
on-
people that know how to do the shit.
You can't pass on medical. You can't pass that on. You still have to go somewhere
No,
and
what
learn
I'm
it.
saying,
and-
when
and-
you get into medicinal shit, right? Okay, so if I'm in pharmacy, right,
Mm-hmm.
I don't work for the government though. But I do have a license from the state, right? Okay, but here's
is that,
the
is
thing.
that not a government agency? You don't think the state is a government?
The state is part of the government, clearly
Okay,
that, right?
okay.
But what I'm saying is, if there's nobody in that state that is teaching me this type of shit, they're just employed by the state to enforce something that someone else told them had to be done. In other words, this is what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so I go get that person that for the government, right? Right? Okay, and then I ask them, do you know what reconstituting this and that means in the drugs? And they don't know. Would I be trusting them? But I know. Right?
Okay, I get
so
you.
they don't know how to do what I know how to do, right?
Right,
So
I
why
get
would I trust them? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Do you trust the government to be a neurosurgeon, or do you trust the actual neurosurgeon that went to the fucking school to do it?
Okay, so do you not think the schools are sanctioned by the government?
Schools might be sanctioned by the government, but they're not always professors of the school. The government, okay, so put it like this. If I go out there and I create an invention, right, and I get it patented by the government, did the government create that shit? No. I have to show them what I did. I have to show them the formula. I have to sell it to them pretty much. Give them all of my knowledge on what I invented and created, right? So, what did they do for me? Not a goddamn thing, right? But you trust them now with my product, am I right?
But I trust them with your product. I trust.
But it was
you
me
with
that
your
invented the product. The
But they-
government
they're
didn't invent the
they're
product.
the ones who gave you the right to sell that product too.
Based off of what I showed them.
It doesn't matter.
Based off of because my shit works because I know what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
you
I'm
can't
just-
invent. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Look at Tesla and them, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the government didn't like people like Tesla because they smooth. You see what I'm saying? You don't like that kind of shit because
Right.
you can't control that kind of type of knowledge.
Okay.
But we'll agree to disagree on that. But once again,
Yeah, we're
like
gonna
I said,
disagree on that one.
when you get Tesla that know how to harness electricity and shit like that the government didn't know how to do, now they want to control Tesla. You see what I'm saying? They want to control that man. But do you think Tesla trusted the government? No.
Well, he's in. Let me tell
They
you something.
stole that man shit.
Well, he gave some of it to him. I mean, he deals with them when he comes with his rockets. He deals with them when it comes to his satellites. When he puts satellites up, he has to sell those satellites to the government in order for him to be able to make a profit off of them. Because I'm not buying satellites.
No,
You're not buying the
thing,
satellites.
though. But once again, like I said though, with an invention, you go into the government with it. They're gonna give you a patent. Now, what the government gonna do is test it. They're gonna get all these chemists or whatever you got going on, all these people in the same field that you in. They're not gonna get all these politicians. They're not gonna get all these government representatives. They're gonna get the same kind of people in the field that you in. That's how you can, if quote unquote, trust them. If you say you want to trust them, because they only going to employ the people that's doing the shit that you're doing. They don't know this. The people that they employ do. That's all I'm gonna say. Them OSHA folks for the government, they been through all the same shit. They know the same shit we do, but the government don't know. They do.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that.
But now, so I say all of that to here we go. We're going to get to these black facts real quick.
Okay.
Very simple. I only got to name names for these black facts because they pretty much fought for everything that we just discussed.
Okay.
But with the black facts, I got Nat Turner. I got Marcus Garvey. I got Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. They're my black facts.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Self-explanatory on them. All right. So, for my National Women's Month, I got Harriet Tubman. I got Afeni Shakur. And I got Angela Davis. Now that's self-explanatory. Because everything that we talked about today, they were pivotal in movements and kind of like putting us where we are now. You know what I'm saying? Waking us up and keeping us on point and keeping us aware of racism. Exactly. Be it global, be it westernized. It's here to stay. All I can say is we need to try to unite. You know what I'm saying? There's power in numbers. Make them respect us with our unification. We can change the narrative and what they see about us. Obviously, we saw that from the 60s movement.
Exactly.
So imagine if we got a 2024 type movement going on, but we all braided up, dreaded up, afroed up,
right,
dashiki'd up, man. And we all out here with this fighting the power. Our brothers and sisters trying to unite and put this money back into our system. Mm-hmm. Black wealth, black knowledge, black love.
That's right.
Shoot 'em. Dosed up. Appreciate y'all tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. Grams leaders CC's pounds. Close cash, close call, close encounter, close up, pounds of leaders of grams, get your dosed up, cut this up, host up, and get dosed up. This for them voted like the movement, make the most of. Monday night at 8, I can't wait to set you straight. These opinions and debates, for them folk they can't relate. I gotta elevate your mind through these signs of the time. Dishing out that medication for that deaf, dumb, and blind. And I ain't hard to find, you can catch me in them trenches. I do the groundwork and I ain't waiting on no sense. I be touching on them topics, politicians fail to